Emotional mastery is more important than positive thinking. And you just proved it. What happened as soon as you heard me make that statement? Did you go, he's wrong? Like, did you get angry and defensive? Did you get inquisitive, like, wow, I never thought about that? Or did you go, yeah, he's right. Finally, somebody's talking about the real stuff. You see, you just proved it to yourself. Because of how our brain works, we process everything emotionally before we ever get to thought. And that just showed it to you. As soon as the words came out of my mouth, they hit a part of your brain called the thalamus. It bounces off a couple of other pieces in our brain, and it taps into our emotional memories. Now, memories are not thoughts. They're actually stored physically in our body. That's why you had a feeling, whether it was positive, negative, or neutral, all based on previous life experiences. And so, your whole life is predicated on your emotional mastery. If you want connection, if you want intimacy, great sex, great communication, a partner that meets all your needs and wants, it's all based on your emotions, not your thoughts. If you want the career of your dreams, you'll be drawn to careers based on how you feel when you pursue that career. If you're struggling with motivation, self-sabotage, fear, indecision, lack of commitment, all of that, do you hear that? Those are all emotions that are creating thoughts, that are creating behaviors that stop you from pursuing what you want. See, that's the biggest struggle in this industry is everyone's telling you to think positive, and modern neuroscience shows no. It's a waste of time. It's even the way our brain was formed. See, our brain formed in 3 sections. First was intuition, then emotion, then intellect, thought. Yet everyone's telling you to work on the third one. Well, do you see? If thought was the most important, why didn't it come first? Why wouldn't we need that first before everything else? Do you see that? We needed intuition and emotion. And so thought, cognition, is meant to be a support system for these two. Intuition is our single greatest gift. This is where our greatness lies. This is where all of our decisions should be made from. But what are we doing? We're all pursuing thought. This is what blocks intuition. It gets in the way. It overrides it. We overthink, we overprocess, we second guess. We don't know why. Because what happens? Emotion comes up. We don't trust the emotion because we've never been taught emotions. We have no emotional mastery. And so we have all these confusing emotions. We don't have the skill set to understand what's happening to us emotionally, and therefore our thoughts are confused. And therefore our choices become confused. We don't follow intuition, which is our guidance system. So if you are using positive thinking, if you're trying to think your way out of a problem, that's what's killing you. That's your mistake. That's what's robbing you of the relationship and the career, the financial success, the safety, the empowerment, the fearlessness, the confidence, the ability to just step into anything you want. It's because you're lacking emotional mastery. That's the secret to everything. And I just proved it to you. I walked it through in several different ways, showed you. And so if you're still defensive about it, if you're still pushing it away and going, no, do you see that's a feeling? There's something inside you. There's a sense, he's telling me I'm wrong. He's telling me this feeling I have is wrong. Well, where did that feeling come from? Because remember what feelings are. They're just a catalog of emotional experiences. And so what that tells me is when you were younger, you were sent the message that you were wrong a lot. And so that hasn't been healed. And so any mention that you might not have the right information is an assault, just like it was in childhood. You're reliving that same emotional experience. And without emotional mastery, no thought will overcome it. Because think what happens. When you go to learn a new skill at your career, when your wife or husband brings up some imperfection, what are you going to relive? You're going to relive that emotional experiences of I'm bad or wrong. And so then the words and actions that come out of you are going to be denial, pushing away, I'm not going to face it, I'm not going to deal with it. All you're going to do is fail. That's what's at your feet. If you deny learning how to become a master in your emotions, you're denying yourself the ability to live in your full potential, or as I call it, our greatness. It's the only way. Science shows it overwhelming. Now, let's go back to those negative feelings. This is the tricky part. Behavioral psychology has shown for decades we become our childhood. From 0 to 3, the emotional experiences basically before we even get to thought and reason. This is another proof. From age 0 to 3, we virtually, our whole personality and our whole life is determined for us based on the emotional experiences we have as a child. By the age of 7, as cognition comes in, from 4 to 7, we develop intellectual, what they call maladaptive, adaptive coping skills to survive our parents' perfect imperfections and the way we've been hurt as a child. And those behaviors, those feelings, which generate thoughts and then actions, become basically cemented between the age of 0 and 7. So your life history, whatever age you're at, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 years old, the divorces you've been through, the career struggles you've been through, financial struggles, health issues, all of it, is showing you the unhealed childhood trauma that you haven't addressed, the lack of emotional mastery you have over that pain that you've experienced. Now, there's even scientific proof of that. The adverse childhood experiences. It was commissioned by Kaiser Permanente, the largest study of its kind, over 20,000 people. And it's been replicated in numerous countries. Like it's a universal human dynamic that we are run by our emotions. It's not just segmented people. And it all started by Dr. Folletti. He was actually doing a weight loss program. He had all these people on these diets and exercise, everything, trying to get them, they were obese people, trying to get them down. And they kept going like this. They'd lose weight, they'd get, they couldn't stick to the program. Well, finally, one day, one of the participants came in and he's talking to her. She just lost all this weight and just ballooned back up. And they're talking about it. And she looks at him and she goes, "Doc, don't you realize we all eat because we're in pain?" Poof. So he started asking her about her pain. He started asking all the participants. The reason everybody's overweight, the reason the population and everyone's struggling with their weight is he found. That's the adverse childhood experiences, ACEs. What he found was a massive prevalence. All of us have been through severe, overwhelming trauma in childhood. All of us. Not some of us. All of us. And that trauma determines our health, everything. And so this is what we do in society. Because we don't have emotional mastery, now we create all these allowances. So now it's okay to be heavy, like I'm big and beautiful. Well, I don't want to shame them, but what all they're doing is living in denial of how their emotional trauma and pain that they haven't dealt with. We've just created this victim class to go, okay, don't deal with your trauma, don't deal with your pain, don't live in success, don't have great relationships, don't succeed in your career, just be okay keeping your trauma and never facing it. And we'll just patch over this. We do it with pot now. Oh my God, it helps with anxiety and everything. Well, what's anxiety? What causes anxiety is unhealed childhood trauma. And so we just give symptom relief. Smoke pot instead. Oh, we're not going to deal with the source of the problem. We're not going to give people emotional mastery. We're just going to keep creating all these pills and placebos to cover over it and make people even more. I mean, look, you chronic pot smokers, it kills you. Takes away all your driving motivation. It's terrible for you. I mean, what's one joint? It's equivalent to over 100 cigarettes. Destroys your lungs. But that's what we do. Because for centuries, I mean, this started back with Descartes. The church told Descartes, he started to move towards emotions, and the church said, no. You can't study that. We deal with emotions, because religion is really about tapping into people's emotions. What is faith? In the absence of any proof, any logical proof, you have a feeling that something's true. Well, they didn't want anyone to lose any control over people's emotions. And so science just went off on this thought place. Descartes was trying to go there, but they stopped it. And so it's just in the last really 50 years we've started to look into emotions. It's been okay to look into emotions. So what this is showing is we are all vastly under-equipped emotionally. What do they say? We only use 10% of our brain. Well, we use probably half of 1% of our emotional ability because we're all teaching thought. The little bit of our brain we use is the wrong piece. We need intuition and emotion. And really, I'm the only one teaching that. The full spectrum of it, like emotional intelligence, if you read the book and everything, it is super high level. It doesn't get down to trauma or any of that. It doesn't deal with the source of the problem. All the emotional programs out there are, middle, top level, beginner stuff. None of this base. Like, you have to go back to the original wounding. You have to go back to where emotions were created in your life experience and rework those emotions. That's emotional mastery. There's only one way to do it. You have to become an expert in that emotional mastery, or the emotional conditions that happened through your childhood that created all these perfect imperfections that are getting in the way of your success and all of your dreams. Until you do that work, like my book and the science shows, your brain and body will seek to repeat that trauma against yourself over and over. You'll pick the same partner, the same career. You'll always have, God, I got another boss who's just like the last one. Another boyfriend, another girlfriend. When is this going to end? It ends when you become an emotional master in the original wounding and you rework it and heal it. Now, the process is simple. Remember how I said cognition is meant to support? So what I do is I teach people the self-awareness process when an emotion comes up to recognize. First of all, they have to become an expert in emotions. Most people don't even know. They say I'm good or bad. Those are not feelings. Those are descriptors. They learn, I feel sad. I feel excited. They'll learn where in their body they feel it. They first need to get reattached to their body because we've taught cognition for so long, 70% of the population doesn't even feel their body. How can you have intuition? How can you be in touch with your single greatest driving force if you're not even connected to your body? So the first piece of the process is I get people reconnected to their body so they get the self-awareness of what's happening. Now, once they're able to start feeling, then we use cognition. Remember, it's a support system. A simple question. When was the first time I felt this? Boom. It triggers a memory. Dad yelling at me, mom this, teacher that, whatever it is. We go back and we find that original moment. Now, in that moment, there are other techniques. I don't have time to get into it. But now there are other techniques, simple steps you use to rework that emotion. Poof, emotional mastery. I no longer am going to replay that emotion anymore. Every time it pops up, I have now put a new emotional memory into my brain and body. This is what fires. This is what triggers me. This is how I get back to intuition and emotion. And I use my cognition to support that system, to help me reconnect with that. That's the process that needs to be taught. If you aren't learning that from all the gurus you're following, you're wasting your time. Absolutely wasting your time. I hate to say it. I don't mean to be disparaging to them, but you're literally wasting your time. If you are not becoming an emotional expert in how your unhealed, painful moments from your childhood are driving everything you're doing, you are wasting your time. You will never get to the solution, ever, flat out. It cannot be done. That has to be a part of the process. Now, here's the thing that comes up for people. Oh gosh, Kenny, that sounds scary. What's scary? A feeling. So all that means is you haven't been taught that how this feeling is keeping you from what you want. Well, that's what you learned when you take my courses or hire me or whatever. You learned how to change that feeling from scary to excited. What's the next thing? Oh, I don't have time. I'm already too busy. Well, Do you have 15 minutes a day? Look at your phone. Put the tracker on your phone. I bet you spend minimum 3 or more hours scrolling on Facebook. It'll do the thing. It takes 15 minutes a day. That's it. To become an emotional master. 15 minutes. We all have the time. What about those that say, I can't commit to it? No, I quit everything. I never get anything done. I start these things and never follow through. Well, do you hear what that means? You're the most committed person on the planet. You've just committed to never doing anything, to never following through. You are insanely committed to self-sabotage and never living to your full potential. You're literally more committed than Jeff Bezos. All you need to do is switch that commitment to work for you. And what does it take? Emotional mastery to switch it. And I just laid out the simple process. That's it. Piece of cake. You're the most committed person on the planet. You just haven't been given the skills, tools, and knowledge to switch your commitment to something that works for you, not against you. What about change? Oh, I'm scared to death of change, Kenny. Really? How many careers have you had? How many relationships have you had? How many places have you lived? All you've ever done is change. The problem is, without emotional mastery, you've just allowed life to bounce you from this place to that. Changes happen to you. You've never been in control of it. Why? Because you've lacked the emotional mastery to use your intuition and emotions to drive your decisions. And so now, with these skills and tools, you become the master of it. You're the master of change. I mean, we all love change. We change nonstop. We just let change happen to us because we don't have emotional mastery. So once you have the skills and tools, you use emotional mastery to control your change. You get the life you want. Piece of cake. What about money? Oh, I can't afford it. Really? I love that one. I can't afford it. It's too much money. Okay. You're right. You can't afford it. You're exactly right. You can't afford another divorce, another bankruptcy, another health condition, another day where you suffer taking pills, smoking pot, drinking booze, buying too many things, a shopping addiction, an eating addiction, a poor relationship. Yeah, you're right. You can't afford it. It's cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars. It's cost you careers. It's cost you success. It's cost you everything. You're damn right you can't afford it. For less than a cup of coffee a day, you can have emotional mastery. That's it. Less than a cup of coffee a day. 15 minutes a day. That's all it takes. So the question is, what if you wait another month, 3 months, 6 months, year, 5 years? Look at that. Looking back, knowing I've just given you the solution to change your life and shown you how simple and easy it is. It's not even difficult. Look at how much more it'll cost you to put it off. Can you afford that cost? Think about it. Because that's what you're saying. I can afford another divorce. I can afford more health conditions. I can afford to suffer. Okay. You're sitting at the precipice, the answer, the solution to life. Become a master at your emotions. I've just shown you how simple and easy it is to get yourself out of cognition, overthinking, stress, fear, anxiety, depression, health issues, relationship issues, financial issues, everything. All you're needing is some simple skills, tools, and knowledge to have the life you want. Now I know you're afraid of that change, but remember what I just said. All you've ever done is change. You already know you're an expert at it. You already know you're the most committed person on the planet because you've been committing to things that don't work for you. The process is simple and easy. You already know that you can't afford another day without emotional mastery, that the cost is way too high, that it's time. It's time to have the life you want. Now, all you have to do is one simple thing. That's it. Just send me an email, kw@kennyweiss.net, kw@kennyweiss.net. I'll set up a free phone call with you. we'll walk through, we'll get you set up to give you the emotional mastery skills and tools and knowledge. That's all you're lacking. To rework the emotions that are getting in your way and keeping you from the life you deserve. It's a piece of cake. A simple email, then a phone call. You can't afford to wait any longer. You can't afford to waste your time on programs that teach you about thought. You can't afford another day where you suffer in emotions that keep repeating, which keep making you choose things that work against you and destroy your life. You can't afford another poor relationship, another day in the poor relationship, another day as a struggling parent, another day in a job and career that you're losing money. You just can't afford it. Today's the day. The cost is too high not to deal with it. Email me, kw@kennyweiss.net. Today is the day to become an emotional master, to live the life you were always meant to live. Do it now. Don't waste another second, another moment of your life. Learn the simple skills and tools to have the life that you deserve. Do it now.